On September 26, 2012, a man peered out of his living room window to see an unfamiliar figure walking in circles in the middle of the street. Without warning, the stranger abruptly turned, made his way up the driveway, and knocked on the front door. When the man answered, he was greeted by none other than the famed actor JohnnyLewis. But what occurred in the moments that followed was a sequence of events that would send chills down the spines of every citizen across the sprawling metropolis of LA. If you're a fan of stories about the darker side of our universe, then do yourself a favor and smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our future uploads. JohnnyLewis was born on October 29, 1983, in Los Angeles, California. He was the eldest child of Michael and Devona Lewis. Jonathan Kendrick, Johnny Lewis, started acting at a young age. According to Los Angeles Magazine, his mother started taking Lewis to auditions at the age of 6. Lewis, who had blonde hair and blue eyes, quickly gained favor with casting agents upon arriving in the entertainment industry. This resulted in him being cast in commercials and eventually landing roles on television shows like Malcolm in the Middle and Drake and Josh. At 18 years old, Johnny showcased his talents and secured his first role in American Dreams, later going on to make appearances in various TV shows and movies such as The OC, Criminal Masterminds, and Sons of Anarchy. Notably, Lewis is recognized for his portrayal of Half-Sack in the FX series Sons of Anarchy, which earned him widespread acclaim for his performance during his 2-season stint from 2008 to 2009. Although Lewis achieved success in the entertainment industry, many who were familiar with him noticed that he stood out from other young actors. Despite residing in Hollywood's frat row and being romantically involved with Katy Perry in the early 2000s, Lewis was inclined towards poetry rather than social gatherings. In 2009, Johnny requested that his character Half-Sack be killed off the television series Sons of Anarchy. This decision came as a surprise to the producers, who had intended to keep him on the show for several more seasons. Johnny's reasons for leaving was that he felt the show's storylines had become too violent, and he wanted to focus on writing a novel instead. At that time, he received news that his girlfriend, Diane Marshall Green, was expecting a baby. This is seen as the peak of Johnny's life, as from here, things slowly took a turn for the worse. Following the birth of his daughter, Culla May, in 2010, Lewis experienced a decline in his relationship with Diane Marshall Green. He subsequently became embroiled in a bitter custody dispute over their infant daughter, which ultimately proved unsuccessful. Just 1 year later, Johnny's situation got worse as he sustained a head injury from a motorcycle accident that occurred on October 30, 2011. Doctors advised him to undergo an MRI. However, Lewis declined to take the recommended tests, despite his father's efforts to schedule them. In addition, Lewis's father claims that he urged his son to seek psychiatric treatment, but Johnny refused to comply. Following the accident, Lewis began exhibiting strange and irrational behavior. By January 2012, Johnny's behavior had begun to deteriorate, and the situation would soon escalate. One day, while staying at his parents' condo, he thought he heard screams coming from the adjacent unit. He broke in and searched the premises, but found no one there. 2 men arrived who were the owners of the unit and requested that he leave. Lewis engaged in a physical altercation with them, using an empty bottle to strike both men. Johnny was charged with trespassing, burglary, and assault with a deadly weapon. Johnny was sent to the Twin Towers jail, but there, things continued to get worse. Johnny smashed his head into concrete and tried to jump from 2 stories up. Lewis was subsequently and involuntarily sent to a psychiatric ward where the actor spent 72 hours. Doctors studied him and would later say that they believe he has an untreated head injury, and they suspected that's the reason for the sudden change in personality. Sentenced to a year in jail that autumn, JohnnyLewis only spent 6 weeks behind bars due to overcrowding. He was released and moved back in with his parents. Johnny soon became hypersensitive to light, where he took extreme measures. He would try to avoid light at all costs by closing curtains, turning off light, and he even disabled his parents' fuse box. If anyone tried to open curtains, turn on lights, or fix the fuse box, Johnny would lose it. He would start complaining that it was too bright and he had a headache. Notwithstanding the previous events, Johnny's situation appeared to improve during the summer months. He sought assistance at Ridgeview Ranch, a facility that specialized in treating drug addiction and psychotic disorders. Additionally, he received prescriptions for medications that were intended to address his schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. In a journal entry in July 2012, Lewis wrote, "Felt more whole today, more complete, like parts of myself had been stolen in my sleep and scattered all over the world, and now they've begun to return." His father, Michael, hoping to bring serenity and stability to his son's life, arranged for him to stay at the Writer's Villa. The Writer's Villa in Los Angeles is an exceptional place where aspiring artists can devote themselves entirely to their craft, all while receiving the unwavering support of its host, Katy Davis. Having witnessed the struggles that comes with pursuing a career in LA, Katy lends a helping hand to those who need it the most. Visitors to the Writer's Villa can rent out a room to focus on their creative endeavors while Katy takes care of everything else, whether it be cooking, cleaning, or providing emotional support. Her dedication and attention to detail have earned the Writer's Villa rave reviews from all who have had the privilege of staying there. It quickly became a must-visit destination for anyone seeking success in LA. Johnny had previously sought refuge at the Writer's Villa, seeking peace and quiet to work on his book after departing from Sons of Anarchy. Despite being a successful actor already, he found solace in the tranquil environment and developed a fondness for Katy and her nurturing nature. When Johnny's father suggested that he return to the Writer's Villa, he envisioned a return to the same tranquil space where he felt the most productive. It was the one place where everything seemed to fall into place for him, and Michael was confident it would prove beneficial once again. The events of September 26, 2012 were nothing short of dramatic. Katy Davis's neighbor, Dan Blackburn, spotted a peculiar figure pacing back and forth outside of the Writer's Villa. Suddenly, the man stopped and headed straight for Dan's front door, knocking with an unnerving urgency. When Dan answered, he was confronted by none other than JohnnyLewis himself. The troubled actor introduced himself with a cryptic greeting of, "Hi, I'm Johnny, your neighbor," before promptly turning and walking away, leaving Dan bewildered and unsettled. Despite the strange encounter earlier, Dan initially dismissed the incident with Johnny and continued on with his day. However, it wasn't long before the tranquility of his home was shattered by a blood-curdling scream from his wife. Racing to the backyard, Dan was met with a horrifying sight. John had brutally attacked their housepainter, mercilessly pummeling him with no signs of stopping. Dan valiantly attempted to intervene, striking Johnny with all his might, but to no avail. Johnny seemed impervious to pain and continued his relentless assault. In a last-ditch effort to protect his loved ones, Dan mustered all his strength to push Johnny off and bring his wife and the painter to safety, frantically calling the authorities for help. As the police arrived on the scene, they were confronted with a gruesome sight: the battered body of the house painter and the lifeless form of JohnnyLewis lying in the driveway. Looking up at the Writer's Villa, they noticed a patio and roof towering 15 feet above them. It was clear that Lewis had suffered a brutal death. His left eye socket was crushed and his skull smashed, indicating a fall from either the second floor or the roof. The scene was one of utter shock and horror, and the police were left to piece together the tragic events that led to Lewis's untimely demise. Inside, the scene was even more gruesome. Walking upstairs from the first floor, which was pristine, investigators had to step over broken glass before entering a large bedroom in the southwest corner, Lewis's room. There they found a rusty hammer with traces of blood on it. Following the trail of destruction to the attached bedroom, they discovered the body of a dead cat in the shower, covered in blood, its skull bashed in. Across the hall from Lewis's room was the master bedroom, Katy Davis's room. There was blood on her bed frame, wall, table, and chair. On the floor next to the bed lay her body. The blunt force trauma to her head fractured her entire skull and obliterated the left side of her face, leaving her brain exposed. Brain and tissue matter seen on the floor around her. Her face covered in blood. Her nose is split down in the middle and her upper jaw is split open. There were also 4 small puncture wounds on her left cheek, presumably from a mechanical pencil found beside the body. The officer report, released 2 months later, revealed that Davis had been killed by blunt force trauma to the head. After Dan's strange encounter with Johnny when he knocked on the door, it's believed that Johnny attempted to disable the fuse box while Katy was watching. Katy confronted him, but instead of listening, Johnny completely lost control. The situation quickly escalated, and the once peaceful atmosphere was shattered as Johnny's rage took over. Lewis confronted Katy Davis in her bedroom where he strangled and beat her to death before chasing her cat into the bathroom and beating it to death too. That's when he attacked the Blackburn's housepainter and then climbed onto the roof of the writer's villa where he ultimately fell to his death. No one knows for sure why this happened. As the news broke, a theory quickly emerged on the internet. Lewis had been on bath salts, an illegally manufactured designer drug, often containing an amphetamine-like chemical called MDPV. The use of bath salts had made headlines in the spring. The snortable and injectable powder was reportedly the catalyst for a handful of grisly attacks around the country. With the release of the toxicology report, it was revealed that there were no drugs found in his system, so it couldn't have been bath salts. The real reason behind the attack is still unknown. It's suspected that an untreated head injury from a motorcycle accident in 2011 was the true reason behind his erratic behavior and ultimate demise. The tragic consequences of ignoring medical advice had caught up to him, leading to a series of events that would ultimately end his own as well as Katy's life. If you enjoyed the video, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. We post new stories every week covering the darker side of our universe. If you want to see more videos like this, then I highly recommend that you click the video now on screen. That video has been selected specifically for you.